In this slideshow, we're going to be looking at developing the project memorandum. So what is the project memorandum? It's a document that lays out the analysis that underpins the rationale for your programme. It is used to argue and approve funding and used then to manage the programme. It will say what it will deliver, such as the project elements and rationale, which is your impact, outcome and outputs. It will have technical, institutional and economic appraisals to back up your project elements. It will lay out clearly the management arrangements for the project. It will lay out a monitoring and evaluation plan, and it will have a risk assessment with defined mitigation strategies. Let's look at the technical appraisal. The technical appraisal builds on the previous work you've done in developing the log frame. So all the analysis you've done to develop the log frame, such as the problem analysis, the objective tree, and then defining your project elements, should be used to develop your technical appraisal and define it. It assesses the options that you looked at and argues why you agreed on the current approach. It uses international evidence on what strategies and activities you are using to achieve the agreed impact, outcome, outputs, and what you know will work. It uses a theory of change to back up the logic and evidence. It asks whether the strategy that you're focused on will make a difference. It also asks whether the project activities are aligned with government policies and supporting government systems. Now, this is something that's very important for DFID, that believes in harmonisation and alignment, may not be so critical for some other donors, and you just need to look at that when you're assessing what donors need. Another issue to look at in the interest of aid effectiveness is anybody else doing what you're doing, so you reduce overlapping and duplication. The institutional appraisal looks at the institutional arrangements needed to deliver the programme, and they need to be assessed. So, for example, evidence shows that we know the technical solutions to reduce maternal mortality, but it's the health system that is failing to deliver. So if we're designing a programme to reduce maternal mortality, we need to look at what needs to be done to ensure the institutional and governance environment is right to deliver the technical solutions. So it's very important we can have a technically sound project, but if the institutional arrangements are not correct, we may not deliver the output. One way to carry out institutional appraisal is to use the WHO Health Systems building blocks, and I've just summarised them here to remind you of them. You look at service delivery, human resources for health, supplies and equipment, health management information system, which is your M&E, financing, and governance and leadership. Governance and leadership is critical to ensuring that we deliver our project output and outcome. Without good governance and leadership, many projects will fail. You also can add on any other systems you believe should be assessed when carrying out an institutional appraisal for your project. It will depend on what the project is. There is no fixed or blueprint to this type of assessment. In conclusion, every donor requires a document that lays out the rationale for the programme or project you're developing. It can be called a project memorandum, and it can be called a project proposal. You need to check the donor's website to check what documentation they require so that you are complying with their regulations when writing the project memorandum. And I suggest you do this at the very beginning of your project design and management so you know what documentation to keep as you're moving through the process of designing your project on log frame.